restorative justice is really important for victims of crime. First of all, because it empowers them. It gives them a choice in respect of how they're going to deal with the incident. For me, I've served in policing now for 28 years and I've dealt with many victims. One of the things that's really important to us in Hampshire Constabulary is that when we're dealing with our victims, they are absolutely the heart of the investigation. And people need to heal. And sometimes the only thing that enables them to heal is understanding, why were they identified? Why did they become a victim of crime? Were they targeted, or was that just an unlucky moment in time when they happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time? So that empowerment, that ability for victims to heal through the restorative justice process is so important, as long as it's done by really good professional, accredited individuals who are really skilled in that service. Well, we have two responsibilities in respect to restorative justice. One is around a kind of code, the victim's code, which enshrines it within a guidance and a legislation point. So it's important that we do it so that we honour that commitment. But more importantly, it is about putting victims at the very heart of an investigation of a case. Not all cases go through court process. So sometimes actually what victims need is to understand why them and what happened. So that's why we actually ensure that we deliver it within Hampshire. The participants of restorative justice are a very broad group of people. Not just the people in the here and now who have been subject to victims of crime, but also historic cases. So pretty much anybody could be assessed to be eligible for restorative justice. It needs to be risk assessed. So that risk assessment is done by trained, accredited practitioners who will look at individual cases and say, okay, is this one which is suitable for restorative justice? But it can be for any offence type. It can be for cases which we've taken through court and the individuals have been taken to prison. It can be for cases where actually it doesn't go anywhere near a court process. So it very much is a holistic service about healing. Healing for the victims, holding offenders to account. It's often described as an outcome. It isn't an outcome in the traditional policing sense because it can be applied against anything. If we NFA it, if we take the case to court, if we deal with it by way of conditional caution. It's not a police officer's decision as to whether or not an individual is eligible, because that is down to the actual risk assessment. So officers can refer, but the actual decision about, okay, would this be suitable, is down to our trained, brilliant people who actually deliver the commission services for us here in Hampshire Constabulary. I'm the national lead in respect to restorative justice and out-of-court disposals and charging standards. So Hampshire is very much aligned to the national position. Bespoke to Hampshire, we work with excellent accredited service providers who have assisted us in training our officers and staff, making sure that we've got really good marketing, good information out there, easy to understand so that people know how they can access the service. It's one of the things which I think is really, really important in policing today. Often we think about it being about what victims need, and that's absolutely why we really do it in Hampshire. But there's also a massive benefit for offenders actually understanding and being held accountable for what they've done. And sometimes it's actually about a healing journey for offenders to get on the right track, which is a very, very powerful interaction when that's done very well. The third area that we're really exploring in Hampshire is actually officers and staff on a daily basis are dealing with victims. And it's so nice for them to hear the difference it's made. So getting the good practice out when we're looking at the scrutiny of where we've done restorative justice well, how that's benefited the victims. The officers and the staff can hear about how that individual has moved on and healed in their life, and how that offender has also been held to account. And that's really good for officers and staff to see that, because sometimes they just hear it at the very start of the investigation and they don't see the whole journey of individuals. And most of our officers and staff in Hampshire Constabulary join to make a difference. This makes a difference.